Welcome to Honkai Impact 3rd. Today we are taking one more look at chapter 34, because we have not really delved deeply into the limited time event, Chaotic Dimension. We only took a very short peek into it at one point, but today we are gonna cover it as a whole. Starting with Palatinus Equinox, getting lost on the way back. We looked at this one in particular already, but for completion's sake, let's do it again. In silent imaginary space, countless data were disseminated invisibly in the ether, organized and perpetual. But in the two travelers' eyes it was accurate, swift, and silent migration. From a microscopic perspective, it is but another form of quiescence. We've reached just like that. It looks the same everywhere. I'm afraid it's hard to say just like that now. Let's take a break here. I need to calibrate our location. It had hardly taken more time to escape this labyrinth than the two Valkyries had expected on the moon. With the Godsbane battlesuits, they had already traveled towards Earth for approximately 47 hours. According to our previous calculations, judging by the distance, we should prepare to float up to the real space. What a relief! Truthfully, this has been more exhausting than my mountain runs back when I was training. We don't know the route. Given the chance, I'd like to travel a few more times, but I don't have the strength or effort now. Kiana and the rest might still be fighting on the moon. We should make haste too. Did something go wrong? Isn't this how it always goes in stories? You'll always encounter a tribulation during a pilgrimage. Something really went wrong. Just a small hiccup. The imaginary space has been getting more and more unstable since before. It's also why I needed to calibrate our location. And this instability is getting worse. It will be tough for us to leave the imaginary space in such circumstances. We'll likely be trapped here because of that, even if someone was to come and get us. The direction you mentioned just now. We don't have to calibrate that. We are still on the right route. Though, this is probably bad news for us. It's easy to redirect ourselves if we've gone astray, but right now it's more likely that we've encountered something along our way. Shall we look around the area? But I think it's not up to us anymore. I've never seen a situation like this either. I'm afraid it's also related to Project Stigma. Be careful. Alright, if there's anything I can help with, ask away. The space does seem suspicious. I can feel the anomalies, but the disturbances are too strong to suggest we're the only ones here. So there are other sources of disturbances, or should I say this space is highly sensitive to start with. I'm no expert, but speaking of weird stuff, the stone blocks over there look pretty suspicious. Stone blocks? Oh, these runes remind me of the wizardry in old times. They look similar to the ones on the moon, only they seem to have been pieced together by someone. But this is the imaginary space. Man-made order seems out of place here. Let's investigate weird pillar. Lights on. Something was activated. But we didn't even touch it. We only investigated. Let's do it again. Same as before. Huh. The instability of the space seems to be weaker now. Could it be instead of the root cause of the spatial disturbances, these are actually countermeasures? It's too soon to say yet. The monsters we saw on the moon. Sushang, let's take care of... Sushang? Pulse pillars send out shockwaves periodically. If an enemy is pushed near a pulse pillar, the pulse pillar will inflict massive damage and break the enemy's special shield. Looks like these stone pillars are actually stabilizers. And the horse is very good at pushing things. Oh no, music. Some enemies have special shields that can only be broken by the shockwaves from pulse pillars. Use Palatinus Equinox Flash State Sprint to push those enemies near the pillars first. Use the exclusive active to temporarily shorten Palatinus Equinox evasion skill cooldown and greatly increase her sprint attack damage. Use evasion skill to quickly fill the key E for repeated sprint attacks. So yeah, this bar can be instantly refilled with an evasion skill. It's a side effect of Project Stigma, corrupting the space. These monsters came from spatial instability. Don't know who sent them, but we can make use of their properties. Get broken. Get to the pillar. Have your shield be evaporated. Then just go ahead and die. Sushang. It's expected I can't get her to reappear. Looks like these pillars want us to pay a transport fee. From what we experienced, these pillars are probably backup facilities set up by the World Serpent for Project Stigma. After all, we took Project Stigma's transport back to Earth. As we approach our destination, it's natural for us to encounter the recycling bin that Project Stigma uses to receive information. Monsters appearing and Sushang vanishing. These happened because the space overloaded and destabilized. That's why these pillars were activated. From their perspective, it's to restore order. Since I got the principle of how things work, this will be easy. The girl patted the pillar next to her. Before the overload ends, let's fight together. But I hope that Sushang doesn't have a rocky time in that space. Surely everything's going well on Sushang's side. But that's not something we'll ever find out about. Instead, let's get lost on the way back again. Daily fluctuations and daily maintenance were just more difficult versions of the fighting we currently did. Although I wouldn't really say they are much more difficult. For all of them, really. It essentially came down to doing the same things over and over again, just against more enemies and for better rewards. As the last wave of monsters vanished, this organized space had finally calmed. Hey, hey, hey! The moment everything had settled, Durandal saw that familiar figure appear just where she was again. Accurately speaking, a few meters above where she had disappeared. As skilled as she was, she still fell abruptly. Sushang, are you alright? I'm fine, just a little dizzy, like when I've been shaken around in a chariot for miles. It's indeed uncomfortable to lose your way in imaginary space. But thankfully it was you. Prepared myself for the worst and intended to search even further. Fortunately, I kept holding my breath and managed to stay at my original location. Enough about this. What happened just now? I didn't do anything, but my surroundings changed drastically. Maybe we'll not see what happened to Sushang during this time. Simply put, it's just a disorder in the imaginary space. I followed the principle of some stabilizers and managed to repair this area. Durandal explained everything that happened just now to Li Sushang. But truthfully speaking, I was blindly trying. I don't actually understand the real reason behind the space disorder. Hey, you've got it down since you managed to solve the problem, and I think it's not too difficult to understand how it happened. Think about it. Those who have starved would lose their cool before a feast. Those who have been isolated for cultivation lose their morals over trivial troubles. You mean, because this space has always relied on stabilizers to be stable, it will fall into disorder once it receives a smidge of abnormal information. We are like two pebbles that have created ripples in this stream of information. I guess, but as I said, since the problem is solved, overthinking would only discompose you. Speaking of which, we've probably found a way to get out of here. Yeah, we just have to continue forward as we did before. The situation is like what you said. It might happen again if we stay. I feel like I did nothing to help in the end. How about you go in? How about you go in the next time? You're right. I've drifted in the imaginary space a few times in the past. I am more experienced. Oh, I was just kidding. We've been held back for too long. Maybe Kiana and the rest would return before us. Alright, what attractions are there on land now? Anywhere where I can drink milk tea? We can't be sure now. But this milk tea that you speak of. You've never seen it before? How can you be even more out of touch than me, after I've slept for centuries? Come on, let's hurry. I must introduce it to you. Clearly, she did not know this well-disciplined girl enough. That's not what I meant, Sushang. Never mind. After all, we all train differently. Our need for sugar would be different too. The path ahead quickly appeared. The two who had been marching on quickly did not take time to recompose themselves and proceeded to the next stop. Let's proceed to the next stop. Jade Knight, Li Sushang. We have to inventory some supplies. I guess? Inventorying supplies includes triggering bombs. The deep lies beneath the abyss, desolate of human life. But sometimes it doesn't take too many people to make it lively. Sushang-sama, wait for me, Sushang-sama. Shh, Susanna, don't forget that we are sneaking out. If you make too much of a commotion, they'll drag us back. We might even get punished. But I only followed after you because you sneaked out first. Durandal-sama told me that you traveled for 2 days and 2 nights to return to Earth, so you need plenty of rest. Susanna, I've rested enough. Rather than lazing around, isn't it better to help everyone out? But you only slept for 2 hours. And Dr. Einstein only assigned me to check the supply inventory. That means this task isn't challenging at all. There's no need to trouble an S-rank Valkyrie. That's not true. You have to do the spade work for future battles. Don't think so lightly of yourself. Even so, you should rest up in preparation for more difficult missions ahead. Ha! Sleeping isn't the only way to rest. Taking a walk, chatting, these are forms of rest too. If you're still worried, I'll just accompany you. I won't interfere with your work. How about that? I really can't sleep after all, and it's too boring to just lie down. That's... Susanna couldn't find a reason to refuse, and sighed as she gave in. Alright then, please take care of your health. Although it's against what I'm told to do. Why do I feel so excited? Maybe... No, that can't be true. Oh. Supplies. Investigate supplies. Surely they will not light up. Dozens of boxes were scattered on the ground, all with the Anti-Entropy's logo printed on them. The Deep belonged to the Anti-Entropy before, right? Alvito said that they conduct lots of research here. I wouldn't know, but it must have been a mess when the last of them withdrew. Huh? What makes you say so? Or they wouldn't have left without their valuables. Let's investigate again. All the boxes here are labeled with danger, do not touch. Ah, these are the supplies that Dr. Einstein mentioned before. Danger, do not touch. What are they trying to leave to you? These are the ammunition that Anti-Entropy left behind. I heard that it might include the energy bullets for Selene. Although Hyperion is missing now, maybe this is a desirable preparation? Don't worry, I've already learned the standard procedure of handling ammos from the Valkyrie guide. Tomodachi. These boxes look a little weird. What's wrong, Sushang-sama? Look at these marks. They are clearly scratched from the claws, and with this size, it could be... Ah! Susanna, get behind me. As expected, monsters tend to colonize the liberated places like this. If I'm not wrong, it will be some gutsy fellow. That does not look like a gutsy fellow. Turns out, it's a bluff. You know what? I'll make it quick for you. Perform basic attacks. Sushang-sama, the radar is still picking up enemies. Build up Blade Sanction. That's the bar at the bottom. So you're the boss. Shadow of Form. Hmm? You're more like a chicken. Sushang-sama, these bombs. While Trade Knight is in sword array, trigger bombs will continue to fall from the sky. Tap Alt in sword array to cast Bolt Slash to break them quickly, dealing heavy damage to nearby enemies. Use her exclusive active to immediately detonate all regular trigger bombs and deal heavy damage to nearby enemies. Oh no, bombs are falling. Chooses. Slash them in half. Every time Jade Knight destroys a trigger bomb in sword array, she gains free energy trauma. Different types of trigger bombs reward different amounts of energy trauma. Destroy giant trigger bombs to gain 6 energy trauma. They can sustain multiple hits. Use Black Wind Slash in Solar Ray. Mash Alt 3 times, then tap A. Destroy giant trigger bombs. Gain 10 energy trauma when destroying a mutant trigger bomb and trigger a global time fracture. Energy trauma will be doubled for a short time. Watch out! Big ones are coming. Just let swords and bombs rain upon these enemies. Alright, it feels much better after some exercise. Thanks a lot, Susanna. Susanna? The way Sushang-sama fights is so dashing. Shocked. Susanna, are you okay? She does not look okay. Sorry, I got distracted. Who would have thought that there'll be strange enemies here too? Thankfully, you were around. If I were alone, you helped a great deal too. If not for your support, I'll be covered in soot from all those bombs. Not at all, I was only reading the radar data for you. Now that the danger is over, let's continue with our inventory Huh? Where are the supplies? About that, Sushang-sama. Susanna pointed to the chaotic battlefield, where there were still some recognizable anti-entropy logos lying on top of the bomb fragments. Clearly those were the stocks that they were taking. And this was a perfect explanation for the scratches they had seen before. That's alright, in a way these supplies have served their purpose. Susanna, you still have other places to take stock of, right? Just to be safe, I'll go along with you and blow them all up. If we encounter danger, we can help each other. Really? You have my deepest gratitude. With this minigame especially, more difficulty seemed very mindless. So you're really just dashing around on top of the swords and letting swords rain on the enemies. And sometimes use your ult to deal some real damage in between. That was fun. I couldn't help Durandal much previously, so I've been so bored. So, this is the last batch? Seems like it. There isn't a single explosive left after all. Susanna scratched her head in embarrassment. There were only empty boxes around her. We did blow everything up. So, we didn't recover anything. But the supplies were meant to be used against monsters, and we didn't find any of Celine's energy bullets either. As long as I write that down clearly in my report, there shouldn't be an issue. Alright, I must record down how Sushang-sama helped me. Actually, that's not important. You can skip it. I mean, you must skip it. After all, I'm the one who snuck out. In the end, did Sushang-sama get any rest at all? And now... Beep, beep, beep. As expected. A particular device on the girl rang. An emergency signal? No, I remember that Durandal explained about the symbol before. A notice for a battle mission. The sender is... Great Master. Clearly, even after 48 hours of her journey back to Earth, she still had work to do. Well, that's those two. That leaves us with... Hash of Truth. Ronya. Let's let her encounter a wild flow. More enemies with special shields. Now, it was still difficult to see any anomalies in this place named Planet Directory. After the Herrscher of Thunder stepped into the one-directional passageway, the Planet Directory continued to operate systematically. Of course, to an outsider, this wasn't a safe place. This time, other than compiling, most processes also aimed to remove foreign matter. Phew. Existentialism. They are far larger in numbers than I imagined. And, as expected from my previous deduction, they'll get exponentially harder to deal with once they gather, thanks to their special characteristic. After May had left, a brief observation was enough for Kiana and Bronya to decide to work separately until now. After all, this isn't a war of annihilation. There's no need to deal with them before May returns. But instead of these, there was a strange energy wave after May left. What was that? No, or rather, it has always been around, but Bronya only noticed just now. Project Bunny. Let's head over there and take a look. Huh? The robot that usually could read Bronya's mind did not move to the left as she commanded. On the contrary, it lagged for duration before responding with the vague sound of static. Come to think of it, since it helped repair the facilities in the deep, Project Bunny has been working for over 40 hours straight. Is it resting for overcombustion? Overheat protection, or maybe protesting from being overworked. But it should still be within his longest flight duration. Project Bunny sounding a lot like a monster. The moment she realized that something was wrong, she controlled her mecha and evaded an attack with agility. That wave, it began where May had left and started to appear here. Maybe Project Bunny's response system temporarily broke down from receiving and analyzing too much disorganized data at once. That must be it. But unlike existentialism, these monsters aren't imaginary constructs, and don't have the ability to compile space. Did it take advantage of when Project Stigma halted to enter? No. Rather than invading from the outside, it seems more like the Planet Directory had taken in scraps of data when its mainnet was torn open. After that, the energy flow in the space has been changing, and even gave those constructs new characteristics, like space breeding. Interesting, but as long as Bronya understands the basic principle of its operation, Bronya can do the same. Then let Bronya feel how these special constructs are made. Continuously perform base attack, charge weapons in extremum form, increase combat abilities in continuum form. Continuum form, Herrscher of Truth gains a new attack. And when continuum form is over, a black hole is triggered. As long as Bronya changes her form based on the remaining protection, she can adapt to the energy changes in the space. This is a battlefield tailor-made for Herrscher of Reason. Exclusive active, Truth Empowerment. Use the exclusive active to switch between Herrscher of Truth's forms. Switching from extremum form to continuation form immediately unlocks and activates 3 weapons. After switching from continuation form to extremum form, a generated black hole will deal additional heavy fixed damage to affected enemies upon ending. Watch out for enemies with special shields. They are difficult to defeat when their shields are active. After every form switch, Hash of Truth will briefly deal more damage to special shields, so switch frequently. Got blown to bits and bytes. That's right, with her show of Reason's authority, Bronya can turn herself into a being similar to them. After fully understanding the dimension, removing them would be a walk in the park. Seems like the torn mainnet created greater influences than Bronya imagined. But is this all? That wave? It hasn't been calmed. This is also a war of attrition. Project Bunny. There isn't much disorganized data injected anymore, but the response system hasn't recovered. Is something else causing the disruption? For example, the girl analyzed every string of data in Project Bunny and signed helplessly after confirming that everything was normal. Alright. For now, I'll take this as Project Bunny's trust in my abilities, not as a silent protest. After this battle, Bronya will give Project Bunny a long break, maintain its parts with the highest quality lubricant, and manually recolor its scraped parts with spray paint. Why does it feel more and more uncanny? Never mind, Bronya will get used to changing forms frequently in battle. We don't know when May will return after all. Before then, let's use this method to understand this place better. Maybe in the next mission. It will take more than a moment. This minigame is more like just regular battles. Except you're Bronya and you constantly have to switch between her two forms. Which means blasting enemies also a lot with her ultimate. Which is fun. This is probably the most fun of the 3 minigames. Even though it is probably the most simple in concept. Seems like there aren't any monsters appearing anymore. Another break? No. That strange energy flow has stopped. As if to prove herself, the girl jumped onto a mecha she constructed from thin air, but it seemed like that abnormal flow had completely vanished. It's expected. Then, it's just a waiting game now. When she realized even Project Bunny that was on strike had switched to its alert and protective mode. It's not simple, the normal energy flow now. The space has been torn again, but other than Bronya, I see. Looks like the wait is over. Bronya is getting sharper now. Oh, Bronya is getting sharper now. To avoid alerting monsters, I didn't make any noise. But May hasn't returned. Then, that burst of energy here just now... Yeah, seems like the mainnet has been torn again. But it has nothing to do with Bronya. And it feels like a very foreign type of power. Is it the authority of origin that we've yet to encounter, or... Carefully sensing this foreign yet familiar power, the girl turned to her comrade in front of her, as if to ascertain something. Yeah, it feels more like the power that Kevin had used that time. Looks like we've got to be careful. If I'm right, this feeling belongs to the cocoon of finality. And that's the finality of this little side event. Although I guess we can take a look at Turbulence. Turbulence, Tainted Deep Sea, and Otherworldly Tower are all not necessarily an endless mode, but a longer, more challenging mode of each minigame. So let's take a look how that looks. We also get to use our own characters for this. Although it's still mostly about Bronya switching forms. But it doesn't mean we can't have some support. Yeah, it's not an endless mode at all, huh? I guess if those are this short, I can show off all three of them. Just to see where all these minigames accumulate in the end. You also can upgrade the skills for the minigames even further. Which either gives them shorter cooldown or some other special effects. only noteworthy thing about Su Shang's minigame is that you have to be careful not to press the attack button too long, or she will use her Sword Storm attack, which unsummons the swords you're jumping from on the ground. But yeah, it's pretty mindless. And finally, the Rundles, Otherworldly Tower. I haven't gotten all the rewards yet here, so maybe it's a good thing to keep playing this a little bit. But yeah, the main thing here is to make sure that the shielded enemies get pushed towards the pillars the quickest. So that you can start doing damage to them. Like so. But yeah, this is probably the one where you have to think the most. Did I unlock any rewards? Not really. But doesn't really matter all that much. But that's Chaotic Dimension. The event is still here for a little bit, but it's best to take a look at it before it disappears. I don't know why this has to be a limited time event to begin with. Just make it be here as part of chapter 34 forever. Mihojo. But okay. It's for now sealed nicely on my channel as a video. So I guess it can disappear as much as it wants now. And disappear I will as well. Thanks for watching. We'll be back again in a new version of the game sometime soon. Until then, bye bye.